Welcome to Acts of Awakening, a series of heartfelt conversations about the roles that we play, the masks that we wear, and the archetypes we embody. Acts of Awakening is a play place to unpack the moments in life that call us to change roles and dissolve masks, individuating us into the next version of ourselves. Together, we will explore the perspective of the cosmic play, inspiring soulful insights and a deeper understanding of the journey of becoming. Host Suri Sawyer is a certified death doula, Reiki healer, yoga guide, ancestral medicine practitioner, and multidimensional psychic. As a walking transmission, equal parts cosmic mirror, soul whisperer, and multidimensional midwife, she embodies the energy of a lucid dream. Soft yet activating, grounded yet infinite. Suri weaves shadow and light without fear. Her essence feels like plant medicine incarnate. Her presence initiates recalibration and an invitation into introspection, remembrance, and sacred revolution. Now here's your host, Suri Sawyer.
Aloha and good day, beautiful people. If you've been watching for a while, you will know that recently, hello Everest Bond, you'll know recently that when I read the beginning, I'm like, oh, I need glasses. Like I'm having a really hard time reading all of the things. And so today I wore my glasses. So let's see how we do. Today, our guest is someone that I would define as representing the adventurer archetype as well as the mystic archetype. And if you're noticing a theme, almost everyone I have on the show represents the mystic, and that's not a coincidence. So I'm going to read a little bit about these archetypes, the adventurer and the mystic. And as always, if you recognize yourself in these archetypes, give them a name, like communicate with them, see how they are within your being and how they also influence your life. So here we go with the adventurer archetype. The adventurer is driven by a desire for exploration, novelty, and for the thrill of discovery. They are courageous and they are curious, and they're often fearless in the face of the unknown. Their spirit thrives on pushing boundaries and experiencing life in all of its raw forms. The light side of the adventurer. They inspire others to seek new horizons. They embrace growth through experience. They are courageous and resilient. They are willing to face danger and uncertainty and encourage resilience and bravery in others. They are innovative and they express and feel freedom, which when I read the bio, you guys will be like, oh yeah, she expresses freedom. The shadow side of the adventurer. Their constant pursuit of novelty can lead to recklessness and a lack of commitment. Sometimes their desire for adventure causes them to neglect responsibility or ignore their consequences. In their quest for escape or thrill, they may avoid deeper emotional engagement or avoid facing issues directly. So that's a little bit about the adventurer, and here's the gift that the adventurer brings to the world. The adventurer awakens the human spirit into the wonder of discovery, kind of like the innocent, but a little bit more mature. They challenge complacency, inspire innovation, and remind us that growth often lies outside of our comfort zone. And when you meet Maria, I think you'll get a little bit of that taste. And a little bit about the mystic archetype, which is one of my favorites. So the mystic is a seeker of deeper truths, wisdom, and spiritual understanding. They possess a profound connection to the unseen, to the divine, or to the universal consciousness. Mystics are introspective and intuitive, and they often serve as bridges between the material world and the spiritual world. On the light side, they possess inner wisdom and intuition. They help others access their inner truth and spiritual insights. They have compassion and the ability to heal. Mystics often serve as healers, often comforting others and guiding them through empathy. Spiritual connection. They promote a sense of unity, purpose, and transcendent understanding of the world. Ah, Maria, I know you can hear me. I really feel that about you. The shadow side of the mystic, their deep inward focus can lead to loneliness or disconnection from the physical world. Dogmatism and elitism. Sometimes their spiritual beliefs can become rigid and exclusive. Escapism. They may avoid practical action, relying solely on intuition or spiritual practices to the detriment of tangible results. The gift that the mystic brings to the world. Mystics offer the pathway to inner peace, understanding, and spiritual awakening. They remind us of our interconnectedness and inspire a pursuit of higher meaning beyond material pursuits. So those are the two archetypes today. If you resonate with either one of those, identify them within yourself and start a dialogue with them. The more we get to know our inner parts, the more we can create inner peace and resolve our own inner conflict. So we have always bunches of parts of us driving the bus that is us. And sometimes they have different desires or motivations. But when we become aware that they're all there, we can bring them into unity and even create what's called the inner council. So if you resonated with either one of those, identify them within yourself. If you don't resonate with either one of those in yourself, who do you in your world see possessing those traits? And now I would like to introduce our guest. I'm very excited about her presence on our show today. So let me introduce to you Maria/Memory. Memory is a presence of love and a creator of ceremonial spaces, which call forward the purity of soul self within. She would describe herself as a human on a spiritual journey of mastery and a person of prayer. She is here to serve as a conduit of remembrance and reclamation of ancient gnosis within us and the new earth paradigm that we are creating together. Throughout her journey of self-realization, she has come to study wisdom from different wisdom keepers from many lineages across the earth. And through time and space, each lineage offering their uniquely powerful keys of remembering one's true nature. Through her exploration and her experience, she has found that together, all pure wisdom creates a multifaceted web of information that paints the truth of our interconnectedness. It is this unified landscape of all living beings, races, and creeds that she desires to serve from. So she may remind others to the way back home, to oneness. One of her main prayers for her life is to create, embody, and radiate cellular liberation for all beings everywhere. It is her honor and joy to share this mission through a variety of avenues, from sacred earth medicine ceremonies, to energy work, to soulful marketing, to artistic expression, to embodiment practices, and more. Welcome to the show, Maria.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for that introduction.
It's really delicious to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So the first thing that I want to dive into with you is this idea of remembering. What does remembering even mean?
Well, the way that I see it as I was taught however many years ago, this word remember actually is re-member. So we are actually bringing parts of us back towards the center, back towards the wholeness. And it brings forward, this myth, this story that is within the woman's archetype of singing to the bones, right? There is this ability that many of us have where we can literally sing to the different parts of us and have them come back into oneness and into vitality as one organism. So the way that I see remembrance is it's this process of purification of all of these, let's say, imprints maybe that have been received, that have been internalized, that have been taken on from external realities, from the collective, from our parents, from our lineage, from whatever you might want to see it as. This process of purification so that we can actually see what is ours and what do we want to call back home. Because in this earth life, in this earth school, we often, I think all of us go through this process of, let's say, forgetting, right? And there's this whole world around the word awakening and all of this, right? For me, I really love to use the word remembrance versus awakening, because all of this true ancient wisdom lives within us. It's just a process of remembering it. It's not something that we need to, it can be a process that actually is quite organic and is quite natural. Of course, we got to dig through the mud sometimes to get there, but it is something that lives within us. It's not something that we need to seek outside of us. It's actually a process of coming more home into our body, into our heart, into also the information in our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And so I work quite a lot with the DNA and the information in the latent and activated DNA. There is a lot of awareness, even through quantum physicists in these days. They've been able to actually understand that there is an enormous amount of information that's stored in our brains, stored in our hearts, stored in our DNA, in our genetic coding, that has yet to be activated by most humans. And I believe that information is this ancient knowing, is this information that comes from our well ancestors, from our empowered ancestors, that comes from the earth, that comes from the stars, that comes from this interconnected web that I spoke to in my bio, in my little taste of who I be. And yes, so for me, truly, remembrance is the core of my walk and my life and my work.
Thank you. As I was preparing for the show, I've done this funny deep dive in etymology about the word member and remember. Would you like to know what I learned?
Yes, please.
Okay, so when I was studying the word member, I learned that the word member is the word that is plural for body.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, that's so fascinating. So you're telling me that if I want to talk about like my body, or my body parts, then I would say all my members. And it's also taken a funny connotation because we talk about the male genitalia as being the member, but it's everything. My fingers are members, like my eyes are members. And when I member, not even just remember, but when I member myself, I'm whole. And when I was reflecting on this idea of remember, I was like, oh yeah, because we forgot to some degree that we're already whole. So the practice of remembering is just calling in our wholeness and recognizing we've always had our fingers, we've always had our toes, we've always had our eyes, we've always had all the body parts. And then to take it to like another level, which is we all belong to a greater body. Speaking to the interconnectedness that you were speaking about, is I often feel like I'm a cell in this greater humanity. Like I might be this wonderful, fantastic, complex creature, but so is every cell in my body. And I am a cell belonging to the grander body. So as we come into membering, it's not just about me remembering that I'm whole, but me also joining into the interconnectedness and allowing it to flow through me, which is where a lot of this information is stored. Yeah.
Yes, I love that so much.
Thanks for listening. That's a little etymology for everyone. I'm going to take a second to just say hello to people. There's a lot here. Hi. Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Jennifer Rose. Hi, Evie Kitten. It's wonderful to see you. Yeah, more Jennifer Rose. Hi, Jennifer Rose. Hi, Michelle. It's wonderful that you're here. KB, I always love to see you. It's great to see you. KB, throw in your existential questions. They always make me so happy. KB, every time that he's on the show or they are on the show, I'm not sure of gender, so I don't want to assume, but every time KB is on the show, they throw things in there like, can you tell me why people are afraid of the void? And I'm like, KB, I don't know where you come up with this stuff, but like, keep it going. Brenda,
Absolutely.
It's great to see you. Dolores, it's wonderful to see you. Mr. Mansmith, haven't seen you here before, but welcome. Kim Princess, thank you so much for being here. It means so much. Leah, thank you for being here. Manda, I hope I said that right. Manda Martin Ward, it's so nice to have you. Allison, it's great to have you. Michael Christopher, what up? And it's just really good to see all of you here. Thank you, Jennifer Rose, for the goddess comments. I really am feeling that. Okay, so my next question is this. So you immediately went into bones and DNA and ancestral healing. I'm a big believer in ancestral healing, and I perceive for myself, we have known that this is a real and important thing for eons on Earth. And it's only seeming to be now that science is conflicting with whether or not we're actually carrying information from our ancestors, trauma from our ancestors, all of these different things. But science just recently, in the last like 10 years, there was a documentary by the BBC that's now scientifically proving that we do actually carry our ancestral information in our bones and in our epigenetics. And I'm curious if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your ancestral practices. You mentioned well ancestors and connecting with them, but I would also implore you, if you feel comfortable with it, to talk about what it's like to work with the mal ancestral energy as well.
Yes. Well, what immediately came up for me was something that may seem like it's gendered, but it actually is not. Immediately what came up for me was the womb and the information that is carried in our womb. You know, I'm not sure how well known this is, but you know, our cells are the cells and the eggs that created us were carried by our grandmothers, who were carried by their grandmothers, who were carried by their grandmothers. And so there is this actual blood lineage that connects us all the way back. And I think, you know, something that immediately came up as well is perhaps in this moment, in this generation that we are in, there could be a potentially greater degree of forgetting. And so it is even that much more important for us to reconnect, because yes, if our grandmother was in a state of forgetting, and perhaps her grandmother was as well, then we have the opportunity to go all the way back through the lineage to reclaim and reactivate that for ourselves and for our whole entire lineage, forward and backward in linear time. So yes, I spoke to the well ancestors and the empowered ancestors because for me, they are deep guides in this, right? They have, in my perception, they are fully aware and online and in connection with and kinship with their true ancestral earth-based wisdom, right? And that is a gift at their presence, that their connection, that their guardianship and guide gets to be activated and gifted to us when we connect to them. Of course, every human's lineage has experienced the full range of human experience, right? And so there are those of our dear ancestors that have experienced really, really horrific, traumatizing, polarizing experiences. And those imprints can still be carried within their fields if they have not had the guidance, had the support to transform those imprints. And so for me, it is important to, especially as we are beginning the practice of connecting to our ancestors, connecting to our lineage, to have that clarity of prayer and that clarity of intention of who and how we are connecting to them. And from there, it's almost like we can kind of build our team, and from that place say, okay, you're welcome, let's go, right? Because this work has the ability to ripple out into the entire lineage, as I said, not just certain individuals, right? It's our whole entire lineage. And guess what? My lineage connects to your lineage, connects to my neighbor's lineage, connects to the woman, the woman across the street, connects to no matter what place on earth we come from, because, we all come from one woman at the end of the line, the beginning of the line, rather. So this is a beautiful dance, right? And for me, it is always about discernment as we're working with this. But that is why, for me, my prayer is always first to create that pillar of, I'm really working with the well ancestors, and we are here together as one. And from there, we are radiating, we are supporting, we are healing, we are helping however we can, through time, space.
Thank you, Memory.
I
have this practice. I'd like to give a visual to all of those who are listening, because this helps me contextualize what you just said. So there's this meditation that I love to do where I look out over the shoulders of my parents, and then from there it's their parents, and then 4, and then 8, and so on and so forth until it spiders out. And what's interesting is, in my mind's eye, it looks like the nervous system. It looks like the tree root. It does look like roots spreading out across this field. And as I look out across the field of all my ancestors, all those who came before me, it's electrical. It feels like it has electrical currents that's all communicating, very much like a nervous system communicates, or very much like mycelium network communicates. And as I look out across the field of ancestors, I see that there are spots on this network of people that are still alive with the frequency, the life force. And I know, hey, oh, there's my well ones. And I reach my hand out and I'm like, okay, let's connect across time. Because like you were mentioning, it seems like there's been a deep sleeping going on in the last couple of generations. And so it's as if that part of the nervous system went dark. It stopped electrically sending information back and forth. And when I reach back toward the ancestors who also remember, and we reach out and we connect to one another, that we're able to send this awareness of our interconnectedness, of what it means to be alive and or even dead, but like, what is this existence and what does it mean to be eternal? And how can I connect to this ancestor who is long since passed, but they're still very present? And that electrical current that we create between the two of us spreads across the whole field and or across the whole nervous system. And sometimes I've wondered, and I would love your feedback on this, I've wondered about the correlation between our own nervous systems and our own ancestral lineage. Because to me, when I look at my ancestral lineage, it looks like a nervous system. And then I thought to myself, well, could it possibly be that if there's parts of the nervous system that are dormant and not electrically working properly, could that also be reflective of a portion of the ancestral field that fell asleep?
Yes, absolutely. I love that image, and it resonates so fully in my personal perception as well. And I absolutely think that, yes, as always, as within, so without, right? For me, that principle is true across all aspects of life and all realms of existence. And so I so agree, yes, that, even speaking to this idea of inheriting certain imprints in our physical body from our lineage, right? Perhaps in the physical, there is something around the heart that many of your ancestors, many of your grandparents and your grandparents experienced that could absolutely come in through your own personal nervous system and be an opportunity for you to, recode that part of you.
Recode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to take a left here.
Yes.
Oh. And I wanted to ask you about carrying the codes of liberation and what that means for you. Because when you said that, I was like, yes. What does it mean for you to carry the codes of liberation and to carry the remembrance of divine liberation for this interconnected network of creation?
Well, as always, for me, it starts with myself. It starts with my own work, with my own practice, and this remembrance, right? As I liberate myself, these parts of me, these aspects of me, these imprints, these programs, so then I can show up in the world as a more liberated being. And that ripples. And this process of liberation is, okay, we've worked on this one thing. Amazing. Okay, next layer, next level. Okay, there's something else. Beautiful. It's the time, it's the divine time for me to work with this now. All right. And each time we are working to really liberate. And for me, again, this visual of the nervous system is very much aligned in my perspective of this work as well. It's like I feel that our field, our bodies, our nervous systems can almost create these spheres or these, kind of like energetic stagnancy or energetic, whatever word you want to use, right? And when we do the liberation work, it's like it's lifted and then energy can run through it. And that's the whole entire intention and prayer is how can more life force run through me freely, uninhibited? Because, we are in our cells. We are, and I always forget the number because it's so incomprehensible to the human mind, but I think it's 10,000. We are literally 10,000 more times more powerful than the sun. Us as humans, we have that much capability and capacity in our cells, in our being. And so all we have to do in a certain way is free the blockages and liberate the energy. And once that energetic pathway is opened up, once that neural pathway is opened up, energy can flow and energy basically expands, right? And we are able to show up in the world in a different way. We are able to pass our patience, pass our love, pass our tolerance, pass our joy off to the next person that we interact with. But if it remains stagnant and stuck, it doesn't have the ability to be in its natural state, which is free.
Thank you so much. Okay, this brings me to my next question, which you mentioned. So part of liberation was to overcome or to clear imprints. What's an imprint?
Welcome
to the interview. Great questions.
Okay, this is when the human words really need to come in. Okay. Whew.
Yes, bring your human words, babe.
So an imprint. Wow. The way that I see it is a coding, right? It's a code. Imagining ourselves, our bodies, our fields as a computer, right? We're going to use this analogy for this. What is encoded in us are the programs that then run in us, right? And so the way that I see an imprint is it's a code. And so the code can always be changed. It can be deleted. It can be copy paste where it should be, right? We can work with it. We can change it. We can transform it and transmute it. But we receive imprints, I also see, in, let's say, the short term and in the long term. So again, like an imprint of, maybe you live in New York City. Maybe you live in a place that is super congested, Hong Kong, right? Wherever it is. Going out and living in that city, there is so much information around you all the time that information can also is an imprint as well. And so you can receive imprints from the external, from the people around you, the environments, the energetic frequencies of the spaces that you're in. You can receive those imprints on a short term. And then there's like the long term, which is almost what we've been talking about for most of the show, the ancestral coding.
Yeah.
Yes. So they both exist. I don't necessarily believe that there's that much distinction to it. I think that that's kind of our human mind's way of understanding it. I think that all is possible to be recoded and all is possible to be changed. It just takes the right frequency, the right moment, the willingness and the actual capacity to change it, right? So much of what I've been sitting with recently is about this idea of divine timing and not rushing a process and being in the trust of the process. Sometimes we are not actually ready to let go of a specific imprint. We're not actually ready to transform it yet. Maybe our mind is saying we are, but in our body, there's still a resonance. There's still something that imprint is offering us. There's still something that is a resonant, energetic match for that imprint to be running in our system. And sometimes it's just not the time, right? And this is where like the laughter and the humility always come in of like, okay, babe, we're not ready. And that's completely okay. I am not less just because, okay, I feel like I've been working with this imprint for a really long time. And all I want is to be feeling different about it. That moment will come at the right time when you genuinely have moved through the process, have reached the energetic frequency state that then allows that to be liberated and to be transformed.
Because I feel like to what you're speaking to, we're akin to nature, right? So you can't try to harvest a fruit that hasn't bloomed yet.
Yes.
And you wouldn't want to pick a fruit before it's ripe, before it's the time. Hello, Karen. And so it does, like with these imprints and these different things that we experience as humans, I often see this in like the spiritual awakening that we're going through as a collective, that like, okay, but I just want to be done with this one.
Yep.
But it's reoccurring, and it's like, well, babe, the seed was planted, the imprint was put there, the seed, the code was put there, and you may not be able to do anything with it until the flower blooms.
Yes.
And it just has to actually process. And I'm curious about this from your perspective as well, because I genuinely feel like sometimes those codes need to run so that we understand what they are at all. If we just cleared everything the moment that it was planted, we wouldn't know if it was a fruit or a weed. And weeds, I mean, I don't really believe in weeds anyway, but you get my analogy, right? So this idea of like, is this something that I want to eat, or is it something that's poisonous for me? I won't really know what it's made of until I let it until I experience it first. I'm curious about that. Thanks for listening.
Yes, absolutely. And also, like, again, sometimes an imprint really serves me at a certain point in my life. I don't need, I don't need to change it. It's serving me, it's supporting me. But then maybe 5 years later, 10 years later, or even 2 months later, all of a sudden, wait, hold on. this is not actually supporting me in who I want to be in this moment and moving forward. This imprint isn't in resonance with that anymore. Yeah, I definitely agree. Again, it's like the humility and the surrender of it, of I don't actually really know all the time, but I love that comment of like, sometimes we don't know what it actually is until we've
Yeah.
tasted it enough. We've felt it in our gut enough to say, this is not a feeling that feels like something I want to keep participating in moving forward, you know?
And I think you're absolutely right that sometimes there's coding that is as malfunctional as it might be, it's serving us to a degree. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I love about this idea of existential kink. Like this idea that there are things that we're doing that are actually harmful to us, but there's some part of us that actually loves it. And so that's
Yes.
why we don't release it, because it's like, well, actually, sometimes I love feeling shame. And if I suddenly didn't feel shame anymore, I don't know who I would be. So like I keep pushing the button. I keep planting a little seed that I can still feel that familiar feeling and taste that fruit, because
Yes.
what would I be without that one? Hold on. I knew
Exactly.
KB was going to come in with something really fun. Do you want to hear what KB said?
Yes, please.
So KB commented on our conversation and they said, I believe there are a lot of codes that we have that aren't fully workable until the time is right, and or even the next lifetime.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's another comment after that that I want to read, but first I would love your comments on KB's comments.
Absolutely. Just, I absolutely agree with that from my own perspective and my own experience, right? And, what's actually funny that's coming up is like, mm, we've been speaking a lot about like this continuous time, right? This continuous existence of us. We are our ancestors, right? Also, we have this ability and this opportunity in this lifetime to perhaps be that, how do I put this into words? Perhaps for our grandfather, it wasn't time for that imprint to be changed.
Yeah.
But now we have the ability to change it and to transform it for our children, for our children's children, and for also just the human collective at large, right? Because we are all interconnected in a lot of ways. And I
Well,
so agree.
and if we change it, this is something that I would love your opinion on, but I do really perceive that if I break a code in my lifetime, I break it forward and backward.
Yes.
And I don't just liberate me, but like I liberate everyone who came before. And I also liberate everyone who will come after.
Yes.
If you'll
And
indulge me.
also,
Oh, yeah.
yes, and also other versions of myself
Yes, absolutely.
through space time, So I think this is the beauty, right? Of when we go all the way into now is now is now, and it's all happening right now, like
And the
everything ever.
multidimensional reality that is here, that's so hard to talk about, but we are doing
Yes.
it to the best of our
Yes.
ability. Yeah.
Because maybe there's a version of me in another reality that is really like part of their mission. My mission in that reality was to work with this specific experience, whatever it might have been, right? War, slaughter, abuse, da 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 da, or amazing, like a beautiful partnership, or really getting to know how to work with the earth, or whatever it might have been. But perhaps there was an experience that I needed to be experiencing, so that me in this now, I have that information, I have that awareness, and I get to say,
Yeah.
oh no, we're complete. And me being complete now is complete in that reality as well. That I very much believe that.
Okay, I'm going to put a bookmark right there because I want to come back to
Yes.
it. But this conversation has inspired me to share with all who are listening to hear this story, because I thought
Mm,
it was so amazing about forward and backward healing in
mm,
the ancestral lines.
mm,
So when I was in my early 20s, I kept getting chronic UTIs
mm,
and I couldn't figure it out. And then I sat down and I did the emotion code for it. And every emotion that came up for my UTIs was ancestral on both lines, back like 6 generations. And
mhm.
I don't remember the specific emotions now, but it all had to do with feeling that there was not ownership over my own body. And that's something that I think like, I just look back at my own familial history, and it's like, you get married and you have this husband, and like, they own you. And before that, your father owned you. And that feeling that women were property and the womb was property of someone else, it was coming through my body in this timeline where it's not really like that anymore. We're changing it slowly. It still exists, of course, but I wasn't experiencing that as acutely. But when I went in to find out like why this was happening in my body, it was all ancestral. It was all this old information from my ancestors, and the women in the line feeling like they didn't have ownership of themselves. And I was getting sick in this timeline about those frequencies. And I did an ancestral clearing, and I did a little ceremony for my ancestors, just honoring this reality. And not just the women who felt that they were owned and controlled, but also the men, because whatever timeline that was happening on, that was the status quo and that was normal. And I feel like they would not have done it if they had known the ramification of what that was like. But that was just what society was at these different times. I did this ancestral clearing, and of course I still get UTIs, but it's like once every 6 years or something. And it's not a chronic condition anymore. And so it is really powerful the way that those messages come through our lines, and we're a continuation and like a living physical representation of everyone that's lived before us. And not just that, but sometimes I feel like we're also the dreams of them. A good example that I have of that is that my father always wanted to travel more and like go see the world, but because of what he chose in his life, he couldn't. And sometimes I look at my dad and I'm like, you have to see that my desire actually is an extension of your unmet desire, right?
Yeah.
And so all of that connectivity that we have, and I've been running this hostel for the last year, and my mom recently told me when she was little, her only dream was to run her own hotel. And I was like, so am I subconsciously doing this because this was your dream?
Yeah.
You can comment on that. And I also have my next question in the queue. So feel free to
Okay.
go.
Well, no, exactly. I think just one little piece is like how beautiful, what a gift awareness is too, right? And
Yeah.
to just because I know you and I know some of this in a deeper level, right? It's also so beautiful to have that awareness and say, aha, okay, so now that I have the awareness that this is coming from my genes and not necessarily just from me, now I have the opportunity to say, okay, is that still true for me in this moment? Or is this, again, somehow an imprint, a subconscious something moving through my field that I think and feels like me, but maybe it isn't really what I want. And maybe it is, which is amazing, right? But
Yeah.
again, we get this with a gift of awareness, really.
It is hard to differentiate what is our ancestral messaging and imprints and social conditioning versus what's our own soul calling. And they're all kind of one and the same, because I don't think that we would be incarnated in the place and time that we are if we weren't in alignment with a lot of those things already.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
like you had mentioned the word discernment a few times. Life is a giant practice of discernment.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There is a comment that I wanted to come to for a moment. I wanted to let everyone know that on Acts of Awakening, we don't do readings, and I'm not sorry about it. But if you hang on to being here, everything that comes through is an energetic healing message for you. And there was a woman who was saying she really wanted love and support because she was writing a letter to someone who, and there was a lot of pain in that. So I don't know where it went, but I just wanted to say, even though we're not doing readings, we are here with you. And I Hope you can feel our love as well as the love of your ancestors, my ancestors, Maria's ancestors, like whatever support you're looking for. We are here to share that with you. Yeah. Also, Evie Kitty, I'm surprised using the emotion code, you released 22 generations of shame. Wowza. Eva Kitty, A1. Keep it up, mama. We're all doing this work together. And just like Maria said earlier, all of our ancestry is interconnected because we all come from an original source. So all the ancestral healing that you do affects all of us. All the ancestral healing that I do affects all of us. And all the ancestral healing that Maria does affects all of us. So we're all in this together. That's something that I think is so powerful, is like, it's going to take every single one of us to see a different frequency take over this planet. And so if you ever feel a little bit like, I don't know what my role is, if you feel good in your body and in your life, you are doing enough. And so it is. Amen. Maria, are you ready for my next question?
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm excited for what it is.
So I was hearing, I have so much hair, I don't know what to do with it. Okay.
I love it.
I was hearing you speak about essentially multidimensionality and this reality that you're like, I exist on multiple planes at once. And maybe there's a part of me that's experiencing this over here. Maybe there's a part of me that's experiencing this over here. And if I'm experiencing this extreme thing in this life or reality, then it informs this current reality. That's a very complex idea that, like, I love how casually you released it upon humanity. Like, I'm right here with you. I get you. I was like, yeah, duh. But that is so complex, that multidimensional experience. And so I was really hoping that you might use your human words and expand on it a little deeper. And if you don't want to, like, we'll just go to the next question. But I was like,
well,
the moment when you shared it, I was like, that's so loaded, babe. Like, we could talk 10 years about our multidimensional selves. I want to hear more.
Absolutely. Well, I think the question is, what pathway would be of more support? Like, what angle in could support in that discussion or illumination?
Okay. We'll go to the next question.
Okay.
But, I might have to have you back on, and the whole episode can just be about our multidimensional selves, because I feel that deeply, like the paradox of being simultaneously local or localized. Like, I'm sitting here localized in my body, but my consciousness is not only here. My consciousness is in infinite places. And that's my non-local self. And my non-local self is constantly feeding my localized self information. And I have to assume that wherever else I am on multidimensional planes, that this lifetime that I'm sitting in is informing them as well.
Yes.
And so it's a brain-bending construct, but it's a paradox, and all paradoxes are reconcilable, but we are both local and non-local. And all of it converges at once at the void. Okay, there we go. That was that conversation. Okay, so my next question is, sitting here and being with you today, my experience of you is that you've become aware of ancestral connections. You're a woman who works with plant medicine. You work with sacred ceremony, and so much more, energy healing. I know that you've worked with many different lineages of healing, like ancient lineages. And so my question is, how did you go from growing up in the United States as a normal person to sit here right now? We have about 10 minutes, but give us a crash course on the initiate. I know. Like, I'm so curious because even for myself, I'm like, how did I go from like a little suburban California girl to like what this is?
Mm.
But what was it like stepping through these gates to arrive at this state where you are currently very liberated in comparison to where you originated?
Yes. Well, I feel it was, for me, it all started from and continues to be led by that, just that call of the soul, really, just that inner knowing, that quiet whisper that there was something more to life, to my experience than what I was aware of in my conscious mind in those moments, and still. um, so it was, yes, it was passing through gate after gate. Some of those gates, passages were initiated by really intense physical experiences in my physical reality, in my family, in my body, in my mind, right? And all of these things. Some were more emotional, uh, but certainly it's an ongoing process. We were just talking earlier today, and I was like, wow, well, I actually feel like I'm reaching um, a sense of clarity and crystallization within a certain passage that I am in right now, and I'm currently moving through, and really like standing a little bit stronger, clear at the other side of it in this moment. Um, for me, it all began as a child. Was growing up as a dancer,
Mhm.
and always was really connected to my body and to what I didn't understand then, but the intuitive way to move energy through the body, just the way that I would visualize, my body moving in space, and how the energy was actually moving and informing my limbs and the different parts of my body was actually me working with energy, and was me activating certain energetic pathways in my body. And so I entered into yoga through dance as like stretching, right? And then I remember being in yoga class and being like, that deep remembrance, being like, there's something more to this than me just stretching out my quad right now in this position. I have this really deep knowing that there's more
There's
here.
ancestral trauma in my quad, and I just released some. Like I can,
Yes.
it's like, this is for you, Grandma. Okay, proceed. Sorry.
Yes. Like I just had this knowing of, and again, speaking to multidimensionality, I know that there's a lot of versions of me that are very steeped in the traditions of yoga and Hinduism, and that part of the world,
Yeah.
beyond all these labels as well. Um, and so naturally just started getting curious, reading things, learning things, going to more yoga classes, going through the yoga certification process, just deepening in and recognizing how much was shifting in my awareness and my perception in my body. And oh my God, I can show up in peace in this moment. Whoa. Okay, I can show up like this. Wow, I can breathe deeper.
Mhm.
My body feels better. Okay. Like, wow, that's a big shift. And
Yeah.
then, like the yoga path unfolded into the energy path. Then, continue to layer that on top of this and going deeper into energy work. What is the energy in my body? How do different traditions understand it and teach about it? Going through different initiations and certifications and trainings, remembrance immersions, through energy work, through intuitive work, um, and just moving step by step by step, which then led me into deepening in the earth, deepening with the plants, also deepening with the stars and with the cosmic forces, having those more cosmic aspects of me start, it being the right time for them to start sending me information and us having that communication. The star aspects coming online more, simultaneous descent into the earth, connecting to the plants, connecting to the medicines of the earth, connecting to those consciousnesses. And it just continues weaving and weaving and weaving. With all different lineages, all different ways of seeing the world that, we all are seeing the same unified reality in its purity, I feel. And you just have different viewpoints
Hold
in
on, I
it.
have a challenge.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case.
Ah, okay.
I think that what we're experiencing right now is everyone sees their reality.
Yeah.
And it would be a totally different story if we saw a unified reality. But I think one of the issues that we're facing in humanity right now is the fact that most people can't see beyond their own version of it.
Yes.
But that individual nature is so important, but it's also the greatest source of conflict, because
Yeah.
my reality, if I was a different person and you sat in front of me today and were telling me that there's information in my bones that I can access and that I can heal through ancestral healing, but I have a totally different upbringing and belief system, everything that you said today might threaten me to my core.
Mm-hmm.
And I would launch an
Mm-hmm.
attack on your reality.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that we were all seeing a unified reality, but I don't think that that's the case. And
Yeah.
I don't think the medicine is for all of us to see the same reality, but I do think that the beginning of medicine for us is to be able to acknowledge, accept, and give space for the fact that we're all experiencing reality differently.
Yeah.
And even down to the fact that we see colors differently. Like, based on our eye color, like you and I both have very similar eyes. We've eye gazed before. I know this for a fact. But to someone who has darker eyes, they literally see colors differently than we do.
Yes.
And we all hear sound differently. And so, like, oh man, so we're all in this unified field, but we're all having this like drastically different experience of it. In fact, today at the feria, the local farmers market, a man told me, he was like, I've always wondered what it would be like to be a woman. And then I was like, well, and he was like, but also like, it kind of frightens me a little bit, because I think that looking through anyone else's perspective would be like a psychedelic trip.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's totally true.
Absolutely.
Like, if I put, even though you and I are
Yes.
so similar, Maria, if I
Yes.
put your perspective on, I'd be like, what is this?
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah,
No, and I so agree. I think what I meant by that comment, I so agree what you just shared, is these ancient traditions, what they were seeing and they were trying to describe was all like the same thing. They just had different words for it. They had different rituals to connect to it. They had different ways of entering into the field. But I very much agree, and I think that's part of why I am called to study these ancient knowings and to have a deeper connection to them, because yeah, it can get really you can get lost really easily, right? In
it's
just your
true.
own perception, your own thing of this is what reality is. This is what Earth is.
Right.
It can be very isolating. It can be very confusing when someone doesn't agree or resonate in the same way.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why I do my best to kind of zoom out and step out of me as a person and say, okay, what is a more objective viewpoint of what's going on here? And that can be applied to my little life, can be applied to what's going on the earth right now, micro and macro.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to challenge you, but I was like, wait a second.
No,
Like, we're all
I'm
these like
glad you brought that up.
reality, they're trying to coexist, and it's so
Yes,
complicated sometimes.
yes, yes,
That last little outburst that I had got some comments. Can I read them?
yes, please.
Okay, so I wish that I could get along, but a lot of times we have to talk to people typo, I'm thinking, similar
Mm-hmm.
experiences so that we can breathe or thrive. It's frustrating, but need to maintain. And then
Mm-hmm.
KB asks, do you find yourself turning to others like you, or how do you communicate with those who repel, although clearly interested? I've got some
Mm.
stuff to say about that. How do we, thank you so much, KB. It's KB, you got to know, trying to read people's comments on this thing is a funny mission. So thank you for updating that. And KB, I've got some thoughts on that I would love to share, but I'm going to let Maria go first and then I will go afterwards. So Maria, how do you cope with the reality that some people are more in alignment with you? And by the way, I'm having the same experience that I had when you were staying with me, which is you look so much like an alien and I love it. And like, how do you, how do you deal with interacting with people who are similar to you, but then also how do you interact when you're interacting with someone whose reality is drastically different from yours?
This is the ultimate question on earth, right? For me, it is like, how much can I be in my heart, period? How much can I filter also the triggers that might come up with me when I'm in a space with someone who I'm perceiving is very different than me, who I'm perceiving has certain judgments or emotions or things that come up in reflection of my energy or what I'm saying or whatever. Filtering it through the heart, filter through the heart, filter through the heart, and being more and more here. Because also it's like, sometimes, yeah, if I said like a whole monologue thing going down the rabbit hole with every person on the street, actually that wouldn't serve.
No.
So again, there's this sweet little thing here on what's in my ego's desire to be seen a certain way or to have them understand something. Or have them da-da-da-da-da, right? Whereas maybe like a little bit of an ego here.
Your body language in that was like very, like, I did, like,
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Right? Like but it comes from that energy sometimes, right? Like sometimes you're like, oh, how can you not see this? Right? Like there's that tendency of like, right? Or again, this is my own judgment. Why would you act that way? Why would you say that? Why would you da-da-da-da, right? These are all my own judgments of that person and of that part of me that they're reflecting in me by interacting like that. So that probably won't serve in that moment for me to say XYZ, but perhaps me just literally being in my heart with full acceptance and just saying a few words with a tone and a feeling tone and a frequency of love could shift things as well. And that's happened so many times. I'm sure you've experienced this too. It's disarming being in a space of love.
When
People
you
are
don't,
like, oh,
yeah.
right? And they sometimes, not always, again, no expectation, but sometimes they're like, oh, right? Like, I love playing this game in the airport or, like going, like those kinds of spaces, right? I'm always like, how can I be so in my heart so that when I get to the passport man and I say, hi, they're like, ah, and they maybe get a moment of a breath from being in a person who maybe is approaching them with whatever. Like, again, how can I be of service as a being in my real day-to-day life? All of this talk, all of this, like, it doesn't serve unless it's in our body, unless it's in our way of being, unless it's doing good at the grocery store and at the airport.
It speaks to what you said, is that you're like you're a living prayer. And that's what like I'm hearing right now is it's like, you're always going to encounter people who agree with your perspective and disagree with your perspective. And then you'll encounter, it gets more subtle where there's people who seem like they agree, but if you get into the minutia of things, there's actually disagreement.
Yes. And that's healthy. That's human.
And none of it actually matters when you're in the seat of the heart. That's the thing about it. It's like, go back to the heart. Like, does the fact that this person has a different opinion than you really mean anything? Like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, can I take a turn to answer it, and then I have one more question for you?
Please.
So KB, Michael Zinn, it's always good to see you, bro. Like, so good to see you. So KB, coming back to your question, here we are again. I have this perspective of the Vesica Pisces, which is like two circles that overlap in the middle. And yes, there she is with her Vesica Pisces on her hands. Thank you so much, Memory.
This is what it looks like.
So she's going to be my diagram while I describe it. So I'm a sphere of consciousness unto myself. Like I have an entire sphere that is my own version of reality. And everyone I encounter has their own sphere of reality. And I think we come into a lot of conflict when we encounter someone's sphere with opinions and vibrations and frequencies that are so different from us. And the initial thing that I think our nervous system feels is to feel threatened.
Yes.
And so it would feel so good if we could get that person to agree with our reality. And I think a lot of our human conflict comes from the need to get someone else to agree with the way that we see reality, because if they don't, we feel threatened.
Yes.
But what happens when we can be okay with diversity and say, I'm so comfortable with my own reality that it's okay that you have a different one. And instead of getting all my archers out and trying to throw my arrows at your sphere, say, actually, you know what? I'm so curious as to how you came to those conclusions. And if I heard your conclusions, if I heard your reality, it doesn't mean that it will disassemble mine. It could mean that it could encourage some of my already existing ideas, and that would be cool. It could mean that it might actually shift some of my existing ideas. And although that's scary, I'm willing to walk into the unknown.
Yeah.
So when we can realize every single person we encounter, no matter how similar or how different they seem from us, they're living in their own reality, and that is beautiful. And the greatest gift that we can give ourselves and others is to be curious. And we don't have to attack another person because their perspective or reality is different from ours. But what would happen if we approached with so much curiosity?
Yes.
And in the event that you encounter someone's reality that is so drastically different from yours that it's causing nervous system dysregulation, you don't have to be in their space. And that's where discernment comes from. So if I'm encountering someone whose ideas and perspectives and opinions are so strong and they lack a curiosity about where I'm coming from, I don't want to be in that person's hardened or, Maria, imprinted field. It hurts me to be in that hard field. I have permission to remove myself.
Yes.
But regardless of whether your opinions are the same or different from mine, it doesn't matter as long as we're in our hearts and have a curiosity about how each other arrived at the opinions that we have. And how cool would it be if we all took on this amazing practice of just being curious about unpacking each other? Like, how did you get to that idea? Like, where did you come from? What was your mom like? Oh, I get why you believe what you believe. And the tenderness that we could come to through that. So, KB, thanks for the great improv.
Yes.
The prompt. That was really fun. Maria, to close, I'd love to give you an opportunity to share with people what you do in energy healing. Thank you, Michael Zinn. Thank you, KB. And thank you everyone for watching. I'm going to have Maria close us off with sharing with us a little bit about the work that she does. Maria is an incredible energy healer and medicine practitioner, and she runs retreats. She is absolutely fantastic. So if you have attracted to her energy whatsoever, please look her up on Instagram. She is Maria Malady? No, Malady.
Malady? Malady.
Mulaney. Every time I look at you on Instagram, I think, my lady. So now
I
you know
love
what's
it.
my little sphere of consciousness.
Yes.
So
Thank you so much. They're running.
okay,
So
okay.
so I work in one-on-one as well as group spaces with energetic work, with the plants, with the medicines, and I do this work, in the ways that are called. I work with the body as well, with massage and things like this, to really work with the energy. Every time that I'm entering into a session, it is a new space, even if it is someone that I've worked with for 5 years, 10 years. Every time we meet, it's different because they are different, I am different, and what they actually need, what is in their field, the imprints that are in their field are different. And so sometimes the sessions are very quiet and very peaceful and in this very specific frequency. Other times there is maybe more drumming, more singing, more work with sacred instruments. Each time I feel I am asking to really be a pure and clear conduit. And so there are moments where a certain frequency will move through the space because that is what is going to be of deepest service. Other times it's something completely different. Often throughout a session, we will go through waves where maybe it feels a certain way. We need to move an energy in a certain way. Then that passes and we're working with a different kind of archetype or a different kind of guide or frequency, for a lack of a better term. So I work with sound and with energy. And these are spaces that really are getting to the core of everything I've been speaking about today. How do we remember our wholeness? How do we liberate ourselves from the inside out? How are we empowered to do that for ourselves and not need external, not need me? Know that you have this in you. And sometimes you just need a space created to remember that, right? And then maybe you want to come back to the space however long from then in a different part of your cycle and your spiral. And so yes, I'm always in listening. The work is never static. The specific medicine allies that I work with is never static. It's always in a dynamic relationship of those that I am working with and how I am in kinship with that spirit in that moment of my spiral as well, my growth. This is all my individual work. And then I also am a part of a collective. There's 4 of us, 4 women. They are all very similar to myself and also distinct in our own ways. We call ourselves one frequency because we have the field that is created through us is the frequency of unity, the frequency of oneness. And these women we see ourselves as literally fractals of the same soul in 4 different bodies. So we all have our own practice. We are all learning elders in our own time, learning medicine women. We all work with sound and energy healing in our own unique ways. And so when we come together, we create gathering spaces. We don't call them retreats because we are not retreating from anything. We're actually leaning in towards our wholeness. We are remembering. And we create these gatherings all around the world. We have one every year in Mount Shasta in California in August, and other pillars throughout the year that are both in the States and outside of the States, usually in Central or South America. And so, yes, that all of that information, all those links, you can find on my website as well as on Instagram. And yeah, my messages, my doors are open. If you resonate, I would so love to connect to you and see how and if I can support you in these moments, just to be a resource, a loving presence, a supportive hand, a guide, for your remembrance, for your liberation, and for, again, the world's liberation.
You guys should check her out. And maybe we'll all see each other in Mount Shasta next August. That would be delightful.
Yes.
Maria Memory, thank you so much for all of your time tonight. I know we went a little bit over. Thank you, Kelly Brickle. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for your attention. Your attention is magic, and we are so happy to have received it this evening. Thank you, Jennifer Rose. Thank you, Kelly Brickle. Thanks, KB. Thank you, Michael Zinn. It's really been a pleasure. Thank you, Kim Princess. And with that, have a good night. Thanks for your attention, everyone.
Thank you so much.